You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to part 2 of this weekend's Achtung Millwall, coming to you in the wake of that home defeat yesterday by Leicester City, Millwall 2, Leicester City 3, cup exit of course. Whether we're all really bothered about that is an open question, dear listeners. If I was to get £5 for every time I've read online that we didn't really want a cup run anyway and we've got a league to focus on, then I might be a rich man. But yeah, there we are. We are exited, whether we like it or not. It was a close run thing in the end. I think probably a fair assessment of the game is that there was a difference in quality of certainly finishing and breaking from defence. I think Leicester fielding a semi second choice 11 yesterday, if not, not quite a reserve side, but certainly you could see a golf in quality in terms of the break. Now that's not to knock our own performance. I'm going to come on very, very shortly to a conversation I had with Matt Nash earlier on today, in which we explore that. But first, before we go into any further details about yesterday's 3-2 loss, it's time for our Pundit Games question that you look forward to, dear listeners. Punditgames.co.uk is the #1 football trivia game. You know that, I know that. Everyone listening to this show, because it's the #1 Millwall podcast, knows that. So we've got 2 little teaser questions to give you a bit of a taste as to what the game's like. Christmas is past now, so it's going to be birthdays really that will be the mainstay of any sales over the year ahead until we get to the festive season 2024. But nevertheless, it's a good indicator of a great game. Just gives you a little taste as to what it's all about. So I've got 2 questions. The point of the game is you move across a very small board, answer 5 questions in a row, score a goal against your opponent, and play for whatever time you want, 90 minutes, that kind of idea, for half time, 45 minutes. Great for birthdays, great for summers afternoons, sipping a nice cold one from the fridge with your mates. But make sure they're football heads, because you've got to know your stuff. And these 2 questions will give you a bit of a taste as to why they've got to know their stuff. We've got one from the international players category, a number of different genres of question, and I think they update them every so often on the Pundit site, dear listeners. So this one, there's an international players question, and then I'm going to follow that up with a Football League question, just to give you a kind of a sense of the breadth of the questions. So this is an international player. In 1996, this striker with Croatian roots won the European Championship with Germany. He won the Torjäger Kanone, that's the highest scorer of that season, with Stuttgart, scoring 17 league goals in the Bundesliga. In a 4-0 rout over Schalke in 96-97, he's played a starring role. So he's playing alongside up front Giovanni Elba, Krasmir Balakov, Matthias Hagner, and so on and so forth. I won't bore you with the rest of the... Thomas Berthold, I've heard of him. Now that's a really strong question, because I haven't not got a clue. I don't know my Croatian Torjäger Kanones. So yeah, if you know that one, we'll give you the answer at the end of today's show. But just in case you don't know that one, you probably ought to know this one. This is a Football League question. This is a fullback who is as hard as they come, hard man fullback. He played for 5 teams in the Premier League between 1996 and 2018, most notably at West Brom and Birmingham City. After his playing career was over, he went into coaching and was, until recently, I'm rephrasing their question because this was printed a while ago, until recently was part of Gary Rowett's backroom staff at Millwall. He was playing in a West Bromwich Albion game, example game here against Ipswich in 2007 in front of Dean Kiley in goal and alongside Leon Barnett, Martin Albrechtsen, Carl Herfkins, Jonathan Greening, James Morrison, Chris Brunt, Felipe Teixeira, Ishmael Miller and Kevin Phillips. That was in a West Bromwich Albion side from 2007 and 8. And he was until recently part of Gary Rowett's backroom staff at the Den. There's one for you, dear listeners. So yeah, back to yesterday's game. We'll have that answer at the end of today's show. Check out punditgames.co.uk. But back to yesterday's game. A 3-2 loss in the end. Millwall actually ran it quite close, I thought. Now, I spoke to Matt Nash, sports journalist without portfolio. He's gun for hire, freelance sport journalist, formerly with the Metro newspaper. And I'm going to bring you now the conversation I had with Matt Nash regarding yesterday's showing right now.
Achtung, Millwall.
Next up on Achtung Millwall is a huge welcome to show regular. He's also a gun for hire in the sports journalism world. It's Mr. Matt Nash. How you doing, Matt?
I'm very well. Thanks for that free advert, Nick. There, appreciate it. Good to see you.
And you, mate, and you. Also, international football management with International Surrey as well. I saw you published their fixture list for the summertime the other day, Matt. There's some interesting fixtures you got going there, mate.
Yeah, and I think June's going to be even better. Touchwood, we've got some decent games lined up, including our first ever away game because we always just play in Surrey. So hoping for a good summer.
Check out International Surrey football, Sur football listeners. A lot of the games are being played at Fisher in Rotherhithe. So if you're looking for some summertime football fixes, do get along. It's a great little setup, some interesting fixtures. But Matt, we gather here today, mate, not to talk about the summer in Rotherhithe, but yesterday's much colder fixture in South Bermondsey. Millwall 2, Leicester City 3. Interesting fixture in some ways. You can step back and look at it neutrally. There was a mixture of emotions for me coming away. Obviously, disappointed to lose. That's the end of a cup run, which I'm still half and half out whether we needed a cup run or not. But we actually played a combination of quite well and were second best at the same time in the areas that really counted. How did you see yesterday's performance, mate?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Nick, really. I know we had a few messages as it was sort of going on about how it was panning out. I mean, one team took their chances and the other didn't, even though, we come away feeling sort of reasonably happy with the performance, I think, which is a massive change from the Rowett era already, isn't it? I think the way, sort of the way we play, we're not hoofing it massively.
No.
Played nice football. Just haven't really got a killer in front of goal where you sort of felt Leicester every time they came forward would score. And I think there was one stage at 2-0 down where I thought, we could be in real trouble here. A few goals could go in, but we sort of rallied, didn't we?
Yeah, they were dangerous in front of goal. I mean, aided and abetted a little bit by our own style, which is now much more open. So we were pushing forwards, Mares maybe under he who must no longer be named, Mr. Rowett, and it's now become the villain of the piece. I've noticed everything is now down to him as a kind of the Antichrist or something in Bermondsey. But yeah, I mean, yesterday I thought there was a big difference between the two sides. I've just been watching the highlights reel just before we spoke, Matt, and it's quite striking. I mean, there's only goals really on this 3-minute loop here, but there's actually one move early where Watmore broke down the right side and shot where a cross might have found Nisbet at the far post, which has been a regular route to goal for us in recent times. So it's just a bit of luck. The breaks didn't quite go our way yesterday. I thought, we were just plain unlucky combined with facing really strong opponents, which is not always an easy combination, is it?
No, I think it's an old managerial cliche, isn't it? It's about both boxes, and Leicester were just better in sort of both boxes. They were good all round. Didn't really have any massive vulnerabilities or weaknesses where we didn't help ourselves by giving the ball away cheaply so much and making silly errors. But this is going to happen. It's going to be pain.
Yeah.
I think we said before, didn't we? There'll be pain in this transition to playing nice football, and it's not always going to be easy. We'll probably take a couple of beatings along the way, but I think it's going to be worth it while we progress to something a bit more worthwhile that we enjoy watching. And yesterday was enjoyable to watch.
Yep, I agree.
When we were making silly mistakes, and unfortunately we sort of paid for them. They're just ruthless, aren't they? They're top of the league for a reason. They're going to go up as champions probably. They're a very good side, and we just sort of helped them on their way a little bit.
They're tearing up the division, and rightly so. When you see that, was just reading the BBC report, listeners, and it's not quite a second string 11, but it certainly wasn't maybe their strongest first choice side. So there's a bit of perspective. Just looked at the first goal as well. Then, Matt, I mean, that was we'd missed that early opportunity. We'd actually made a few decent runs going forwards. I mean, Watmore looked really dynamic in the early stages yesterday and through the game, in fairness. But they also made that. It was on their first real attack, which is that cross in from the right, and then it's Cazaday, number 7, who meets it at the far post. Really strong header. And I think it's Ryan Leonard that almost gets battered out of the way as he came in. That's that kind of presence, Matt, would give us, well, at least 10, 12 more goals in our season. That would make a big difference to us. But I don't know how much he's cost, but he looks a valuable player because he looked a real asset yesterday. Really strong, I thought.
Very much so. And we were kind of right behind the goal when that went in. It did look like Leonard was thinking, well, if I touch this, it's just going to be an own goal.
Yeah.
He was sort of caught in two minds whether to go for it or not, maybe. But yeah, kind of Leicester are a Premier League team in waiting, aren't they? They look
Absolutely.
to me like a better Leicester side than the Premier League champions that came with Ranieri back in 2017. We beat them, I think.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
They were very efficient, very well drilled, no obvious weaknesses. And we can only aspire to that at the moment, I suppose. So, we're heading in the right direction now. I think we all feel we've got a manager who's someone we can believe in, and it's going to be a painful transition at times, isn't it? Teaching players midway through a season, but in bleak midwinter at Coldblow Lane, how to sort of play out from the back,
Start playing the Italian style or the continental style, perhaps. Yeah, it's not easy. No, I agree. I mean, I think it was common kind of consensus online yesterday that if we play that way regularly against the more, the everyday sides of the Championship, we're going to get results. And I think that's probably right. That's really what I took away after the game. I didn't leave the Den feeling downbeat, although it was, as others, pointed out, it was another defeat at home, but it didn't feel quite as bleak as it did under Rowett, where you would be bored stiff and walk away feeling like you couldn't live with a side like Leicester. I think that we will have our budget limitations, but we weren't battered yesterday, and we actually showed them a few moves where different day, but they were good defenders, I thought, as well, Matt, incidentally, because we didn't really get many chances other than good build-ups. But no, I didn't leave feeling as downbeat as I might have expected to after a home loss.
For sure. I think Connor Cody and Hamza Chowdhury sort of got on the end of everything pretty much into their box. Yeah. Apart from the two goals, obviously. And they just look good. You're talking about an England international there in Cody, aren't you? And we just don't have that sort of personnel. They've got players who make the right decisions at the right times, and sometimes we don't. And that's just where we are. There's no criticism of the players. That's what we've got as a squad, and it's up to Joe now to try and help them make the right decisions at the right time, isn't it? So we score more goals and concede fewer. It's almost as simple as that, really. When it comes to how we move on from here, not trying to overplay at the back. There were a couple of times when I think George Honeyman was giving the ball away yesterday, and it's a couple of times it really nearly cost us, and we could have probably conceded 4 or 5. But if we can sort of move away from that, players get confident in the system as time goes on. It's just all about time, isn't it? I think this is the thing now. Just got to give it time. Yeah,
I mean, we're in the second half of the season. We've moved up the table, so that's at least I think has taken some of the pressure off of Edwards and the squad, really, that they can play this style without quite the pressure of the bottom three breathing on their necks. So that's a good thing. I thought yesterday was a good show by Millwall, and I think you're right about Leicester actually missed a few chances, and they probably would have expected to have got a couple more on top of their 3, but there we are. But we weren't bad, and I think but for that top quality defending, because it seemed to me every time we crossed the ball into the danger zone, it would either hit a heel, it would hit a calf, it would some part of the body would be in a yellow shirt would be on the end of that, and that just took it away from us. You won't see defending on that level every week in the Championship, thankfully, and I think we can take a lot away from it. Just looking at the second goal, Matt, I mean, it was a really nice build-up, I can't say. This is going to sound like a Leicester City show, listeners, but it's a really, really nice build-up, the 1-2 that moved through defence. And then there's a shot from the right side for the striker, which, in fairness to Sarkis, I thought played well. Yes, he got a hand to it. He might have expected done a little bit better with that shot. Is that harsh, do you think? No,
I think there were a couple of times and I felt maybe he could have done a bit better yesterday. But, again, he's young, isn't he? He's not got the experience of, say, Bart. He's still learning. But I think maybe that's probably the excitement and the optimism on our part is that, we've got some good young players.
Yeah.
Players who will hopefully improve under a manager who wants to improve them, a progressive manager who, should be able to coach them to play better than they are currently and better than they have been under the previous regime. So that's probably the excitement. That's what's going to keep us going.
Yeah.
When perhaps we are taking the odd beating here and there, is that there's something in this where it sort of felt under Rowett towards the end that where are we going, I suppose.
Yeah, they didn't seem to have any point or purpose, did it? And just to be counsel for the defence of Martia Sarkic on the highlights reel, they follow up the he could have done better moment with a double save on a break forwards in the second half. Leicester broke forwards and he made a good save and then followed it up with a second. So that's, I thought he played well overall, and you can see him developing as a goalkeeper. I can see now why we've signed him, Matt, but I think it was a touch of men against boys at times yesterday, but I think you can't say that online without sounding like you're downing your own sign. I don't see that we've got anything to be downbeat about other than areas where we can improve. I think the quality of our crossing has got to improve a touch. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. And there are times, aren't there, where we're taking a short corner and you think, God, you've got Cooper up from the back, you've got all the big lads in there.
Get it in there. Yeah.
And the times when the corners, the crosses were for poor quality, where you play Leicester and there's a good. Generally, Leicester, 9 times out of 10, their balls in are going to be very good and probably lead to a chance and maybe a goal. And it's just little things where we're behind someone like Leicester, and there's no shame in that. Leicester are going to probably get 100 points and go up
multi-millions of pounds from their Premier League parachute money,
That's it. I don't think there's any shame in saying we were second best in areas yesterday and that we're way off Leicester. That's just a reality. What you're saying just now is the reality that at times it felt men against boys, and I felt we could get swamped a couple of points in the game, but there's loads there to be excited about in the future. And young players like Esse, Marku, Sarkic in goal.
Yeah,
this is the thing. They're going to make mistakes. Then they're also going to have these moments of brilliance, aren't they? So you've just got to kind of take the rough with the smooth, I think. And the same with Joe. Joe's a manager in league football for the first time, so he's not going to get everything right. He won't be expecting to get everything right.
No, it'd be a learning experience. I mean, one of the choices yesterday, he played a fairly strong starting 11. The debate online is whether he should or should not have started Ryan Leonard, but I don't quite buy this idea that you wrap Leonard up and put him into like cryogenic storage after each game. when does he play then? Because you've got as much chance of being injured yesterday as you do, in minute 1 of next week's home game against Middlesbrough. So don't entirely buy this idea that why did he play Leonard? I thought he turned out our strongest side, injuries allowing, that we could yesterday, which I think is respecting the competition. And I don't buy that idea that you have to, other players are injured. Brooke Norton-Cuffy was out, and obviously Hutchinson's out as well, which is unfortunate. But I thought he turned out his strongest side, and they gave a good account of themselves yesterday. So I'm not sure about this idea that you lock away the family jewels and never see them.
Well, you don't want him to become our Ledley King, do you? Where he just doesn't train and just plays the odd game here and there. He was playing so well, wasn't he, Leonard? That it's a real shame.
Yeah, and a nice quote from Joe Edwards. I think this is rated with the short story competition, the shortest short story of all time, was allegedly by Ernest Hemingway. And Joe Edwards is now matching it with a hamstring injury. Crucial player, and that's it. That's the short story in 2 sentences there. Loss. Nice second goal. I mean, again, from a traditional route, which is a corner in, met well by Jake Cooper, the big man, like we've just been saying. Listeners, I do, of course, mean Millwall's first goal. Pressure by Duncan Watmore. I thought was a real strong player yesterday. I thought he'd done well. My man of the match, man, Matt Watmore.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he? He's sparky, he's energetic, and we sort of need a bit of that at times in attack. And we were quite sort of predictable in attack, I think. And I like the idea of him and Fleming sort of learning off someone like Joe Edwards, who can bring something else to their game. Because I think if he can add a little 10-20% extra to both of those players, then we've got some really good players there. Zian's not been himself of last season at all, and
no,
there are flashes there. But if we're playing more football, the idea is Zian will be more in the game. So let's hope that works, and we do get to see sort of the best of him back. And I think Watmore, is a great chance creator, and probably not going to get you 20 goals a season, but he'll set others up as well.
He'll bring energy in. I mean, obviously, once we got it to 2-1, the energy of the crowd, which was slightly flagging a little bit, 2-0 down, and it did look like a bit of a mountain to climb, but to get it to 2-1, and the Den got involved, and there's a nice few minutes, actually, where we were pushing forwards. The third goal, in reality, probably was good night Vienna, really, Matt, but it was a beautiful goal. But again, some talk that Sarkic came out in one of his rushes of blood to the head. He came wandering out to try and meet the striker coming down the middle. It's a good long ball forwards. I'm not sure he could have done much different other than come out, unless he's going to actually demolish the man and get sent off, and not much else he could have done in that situation. Nice finish, though.
Nice finish. Well, from behind the other goal, I've still not seen the replay of it back. So all I know is the ball was in their penalty box 1 minute, and then within about 10 seconds, it's in our net. So
it was a basic long ball down the middle. I'll describe it. Basic long ball down the middle. It was, Plough Lane, 1985, down the middle. It beat our two defenders, and the striker had more pace. Sarkic came out a long way to try, and I think he was caught between heading it away, but he was not going to get there. Or then does he take the man and draw a red card? He didn't really do any of it. I think he was just caught in a little bit of a dither there. And the striker went round him and slotted it in from the right side of the penalty area, which, whether you want to say that's a mistake by Sarkic, I don't know. I think that's harsh, because I'm not sure what he could have done other than flatten him. And he's got two good boy band looks to go flattening people. He's not that kind of chiseled. He's not David Ford, is he? He's going to go out there or a Tony Warner is going to go and flatten the man. But he would have been sent off there, because it was that would have been the last man. So I don't really know what he could have done. 3-1, and that did feel like it, really, Matt. But we still carried on playing, and that's another positive, Matt. We kept going. Didn't give it up. We didn't just turn it in there, and I thought we kept going well, actually, and obviously got in with that late volley from Zian Fleming. But that's refreshing, that attacking intent and the continuing to drive forwards no matter the score.
Yeah, I think we sort of left quite optimistic yesterday, because we finished the game attacking, and Zian's free kick towards the end, quite close to level.
Yeah,
we were right behind that, and it wasn't far off. And say we'd taken Leicester to a replay, and we were that close to sort of doing that that would have been a tremendous sort of result in the end, fighting back. And there was great resolve, I think, which we can all kind of be pleased about and proud about yesterday. It's just those moments, and that's the difference between us and the top sides and the Premier League sides when we play them. They take their moments. They either defend them really well when we're attacking, or they take their chances when they get them. We took our chances against Everton 5 years ago. Now we won the game. Yesterday at 0-0, and even at 1-0, I think the first 20-25 minutes we had 4, 5, maybe 6 good openings. Didn't take any of them, and we've seen that before under Rowett many times. We start well at home. Don't score, and then you're thinking, "Oh God, we're going to concede here."
It starts to get away from us a bit, doesn't it? But
gets away from us, and that sort of felt like that yesterday. Once we don't score early, where do we go? So if we can get past that, hopefully Joe's got a master plan, Nick, to get past that. Right?
I think his master plan now seems to be shoring up the injury list that seems to be getting longer and longer day by day. Dislocated shoulder, I read, for Ida Moimaki, which is a real shame, because I think he's been one of our hotter prospects, but also other players like Ryan Leonard with his hamstring, and Sean Hutchinson, who I think Father Time is starting to creep up on one of the two of these players, in the sense of drawing knocks more easily than maybe they would have done 5 years ago, perhaps. So I'm going to guess that the January transfer window is, rather than it being spectacular, it might be about filling positions that are going to be out of action for a while. I was listening. It's an interesting podcast. I mentioned it on the show yesterday when I did the live thing, Matt. I don't know if you've listened to Gary Rowett's podcast. He's doing a regular behind the scenes of management podcast. Quite interesting to listen to. But he was taking the view, and on the show that I listened to the other day, that you're sometimes better off doing nothing in the January transfer window rather than bringing in bad eggs or players based on YouTube reels that don't quite perform as they do online, you know. And I was desperately trying to fill in who these people were that he was talking about, but they don't name names, so it's you know, there's a bit of guesswork involved. But it's going to be interesting to see how we play January. What, you know, whether we're going to go for the spectacular, or whether we're going to go for the mundane. I kind of think mundanity might be our, in the sense of players we hadn't heard of before, to try and fill some of these gaps.
You know, I think the one thing we know now with Joe is it's not going to be a transfer window where we're going in for ex-Derby players, right?
Or Birmingham car stops and Stoke City car stops.
That'll be the difference this time. I mean, we could be looking at a whole new market of sort of young loanees who are coming from exciting teams like Chelsea, who are, you know, producing these great young players, rather than guys who are on a free transfer from Derby. So
we'll see.
We trust in Joe, right? He's got these connections. So let's see what he can do. Maybe bring in a couple of young players who've got the hunger and the appetite, rather than sort of fully formed 30-year-olds who are just in there to do a job as a squad player that we've maybe done in the past.
Agreed. It's going to be an interesting period ahead. Middlesbrough at home next week, which is they're all important, but that's going to be another fixture where it's going to be tough, but we would want to be getting a result from it. I think Joe Edwards has made a good impact. I mean, obviously difficult start, Matt, but it seems to be coming together a little bit now. It's going to be interesting to see how the season pans out, mate, isn't it?
I think so, and I think Joe's under no illusions that he's a very switched on, level-headed chap, and knows it's not going to be easy. Knows that idea of trying to turn a team into a footballing side overnight during a mid-season is not going to be an easy one, and there are going to be bumps in the road. We had a horrible run after Sheffield Wednesday, didn't we?
No, it really went off. The wheels came off big time there, but they're back on again now. There's 5 unbeaten in the league now. And obviously Middlesbrough, and then Queen's Park Rangers away, I think, which is the following week. So a couple of big games there. Just want to wish Steve Morrison a touch of luck. He's joining you as a Surrey manager now, you know, down at Sutton.
Hopefully he can loan us a few players from the
International Surrey are available, Steve, if you're listening to the show, and I'm sure he does.
Very much available, mate. I'm sure he listens to the show as well. Apparently he went into the clubhouse, I read, at Hornchurch after the game yesterday and just said, you know, I've had an offer and I'm leaving.
I've got to go.
So
he's done a decent job with Hornchurch. They're riding high. I think it's Isthmian League, and they're going good guns at the moment. So good luck to him. And fair play to him, Matt, for dropping down the levels and to keep in management. I mean, that wasn't an obvious move to go from, you know, cast off by Cardiff and then to go to Hornchurch. Well, you know, there's a certain bravery to that. So wish him luck, I think, at Sutton. We'll see where he goes there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Matt, I'm going to leave you to enjoy your Sunday afternoon. Matt, I want to say a huge thank you, Matt Nash, International Surrey and sports freelance gun for hire. Thank you for joining us on the show, Matt. And incidentally, retro shirt wear this is not a video podcast, because you'll be oozing with a shirt that Matt's wearing, a 24/7 Energy 2002.
By something called Strike Force.
Wasn't that one of Theo's kind of cover organisations? Sold them at Whitechapel Market off of a stall. But
incredibly, it still fits, Nick, which is the shocking thing. Mate, 20 odd years.
You're a tribute to good diet, clean living.
says to someone who was in Mel's Cafe for an hour before kickoff yesterday.
Great stuff, Matt. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it.
Top man. Thanks, Nick. Cheers.
Achtung, Millwall.
Huge thank you to Matt Nash for joining me earlier on today. Do check out Matt's work on X, stroke Twitter, as it used to be known, now known as X, at Matt Nash Media. Also, he's doing a podcast, his own podcast, well worth a listen. Wider range of sports and personalities than we do on this little niche show called Achtung Millwall, but his one is called The Back Page. So big thank you, Matt Nash, and do have a look on his media X page for all the range of activities that Matt undertakes, sports journalism related. So anyway, it's now time for the jingle for the voicemails. I haven't played a jingle for a while, so let's play the jingle.
Hello?
Hello, mates. Yes, indeed, it's the voicemail section. If you want to send me a voicemail, always welcome, dear listeners. You can do it the easy way, which is go on X, Twitter, and send me a direct message. If you go to direct messages and press the little sound button in the bottom right-hand corner from memory there, and speak, and that will come through as a voice note, and I can record that and use it on the show. I think you have a 2 minute and 20 maximum length on there, but it's not going to stop you doing a repeat message afterwards if you have more to say. Do send me stuff. I really appreciate it. I know these shows are popular, and you'll be very, very welcome. You can also WhatsApp me if you got my number. So hit me up, as the kids say. So let's have a listen to our first message. And in fact, this is Joe Edwards speaking in the aftermath yesterday, speaking to Phil Parry of BBC London 94.9. Let's have a listen to Joe having a word with Phil after the game.
You should have got something out of that game. I mean, we're sitting up here scratching our heads. Your team did so well today.
Yeah, definitely. Really pleased with the performance. Obviously, the initial feeling is disappointment because it's a FA Cup tie. We always want to progress in the FA Cup and do well, and playing at home. And when you start the game as well as we did, it feels like a big opportunity. So the initial feeling is disappointment in the dressing room now. But as you said, there was a lot of positives about our performance. I don't think many teams have taken Leicester apart the way we did at times, albeit they rested some players, but still got a lot of top players out there. We did really well, created chances, but they were more clinical than us today.
Duncan Watmore certainly deserved his goal, didn't he, really? I mean, what shift he put in for you again today?
Yeah, he's been great for us, and around that busy fixture schedule that we had over Christmas, it was how you manage players like Dunk, very explosive, plays at high intensity. So he's been in and out of our starting team, but always offered an impact, whether it's from the start of the game or from the bench. And again today, he was a constant threat, and got his goal.
Was the frustration that Leicester just were clinical with the chances, the brief chances they had, especially for the first two goals, that how clinical they were?
Yeah, I think if you look at their goals, they're probably a mixture of minor errors from us that we can always look at and tighten up on, and definitely do better, and definitely should be disappointed with a couple of them. But it did show that minor errors will always happen in football matches, and there will be small spaces opening like the ones that opened. But what they showed is when you do it against teams like that, they've got the quality to punish you, and that's exactly what happened. It felt like a football match where we were pretty comfortable, and then real half moments around our goal when it ends up in the net. And that's why they are where they are in the league at the moment, because they've got players all through their squad that can do that at any moment.
And when we spoke on Thursday ahead of this game, you talked about the momentum and the confidence that's building, despite the actual result that says the scoreline, shall we say, Joe. Does not today feed into that confidence, feed into that momentum that you're building?
I think so, for sure, because I've gone and faced a group of players in the dressing room at half-time there and at the end of the game, where I can see it in them that they know, there's a feeling of frustration to lose a game right now and to be out of the FA Cup, but there's definitely a lot of belief in what we're doing. The way the type of football we played today was a real example of what we want to be about. A lot of playing out from the back with our goalkeeper and defenders playing short into midfield, but the whole purpose of it is for us to get up the pitch, to get through the opponent and create chances. And I thought that was the big standout point today. We had more possession than we normally would, but today we created a lot of moments around the opponent's goal. And as I said, we know we were playing against top opponents that punished us, and goals had a big impact on the game. But I think the lads and everyone will see that if we can replicate that level of performance that we've put in today, and make that a regular thing at the Den, that this won't be an easy place for people to come, and we have an opportunity to start with Middlesbrough next week.
One thing I do like about Joe, listeners, is he speaks well, doesn't he? You don't get a sense that he's just coming out with guff and cliches, football cliches. I do think that he's a genuine person, and he speaks from the heart. I think he wears his heart on his sleeve, probably more privately perhaps than in public. But yeah, yesterday was a strange day. It's a strange home defeat where you walk away from the Den, as I did, walking back through the Silwood estate after the game, where you feel pretty positive about what you've seen, because we were, I don't know if decisive is the right word, but we were well beaten by a decent side, and as Joe Edwards has touched on there, and we in the conversation with Matt Nash, that was a very well assembled Leicester side, and not their first strongest side, not their first choice side. So I suppose it gives you a sense of what money can buy. So some of these players were clearly from the European footballing scene, and they've chosen wisely and well. Pointer for us for the future. If you can find these players that are out there and attract them, then there's clearly a lot of potential. But yeah, so it's an odd one in that way. I do make Joe right in the sense that when we took the game to them, and that in itself is pleasing to not to we weren't blown away, but we did take the game to them and perhaps fell a little bit short, and their defending was very, very good, top quality. But to have taken the game to them belies the disappointment that I think the squad will be feeling, and that maybe in the moment you might feel at the game yesterday. But I do think he's right where he says the momentum is continuing, even though it's a defeat. So that's a strange day in that sense. Now let's have a listen to, next up, it's show regular Matt Richards. Let's continue with another Matt.
Hi Nick, Matt Richards, dialing in with my thoughts after today's game. Well, I think I can put away my tinfoil FA Cup. I don't think I'll be needing that for another season. I thought we played okay. I'm going to try and look at the positives. There's some negatives, some sloppy defending. Big negative, obviously, Ryan Leonard being injured. I know people, I sat on the fence really about people saying he shouldn't have played. When you've got two defenders out, I can see why he played him. He could. The thing with Leonard, he could break down any game, can't he? So not playing him today is no guarantee he wouldn't have broken down next time. But who knows? Wear and tear as well, managing players. Anyway, gone straight to the negatives, haven't I? So shame about Ryan Leonard, sloppy defending. I mean, they scored in their first chance, and Sarkic, I think, for the third. I have to see it back. We don't see replays. It's so frustrating. Why don't they show replays? I thought if you're coming out, he's got to get it, and he didn't. But aside from that, we created lots of chances, and I think we had like 3 chances in the first 15 minutes. And so, okay, the frustration is obviously when you don't take those chances, we need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. But I think it's a positive anyway that we were making chances. I thought Watmore did particularly well. There's a guy behind me who was slagging him off, saying, "Oh, he's missed 4 chances." I'm thinking, bloody hell, how many players have we got in the team who actually create 4 chances? Because Watmore corrects his own chances. We've got nobody like him. So I thought he played well in the first half, and he deserved his goal in the second. Nisbet, I just thought today is just every decision he made when he was. There weren't clear-cut chances, but every decision he made when he was in the box was the wrong decision. He shot when he probably should have played it in, and then the one time he did play it in, he probably should have shot. And it's one of those days where it just didn't happen, did it? But so I still think we played some good stuff. When you think about Leicester, and that obviously wasn't their number one choice team. We still played really well against a top championship team that will be in the Premier League next year. So I think that's positive. I think it's another game for Joe to get over, the new type of football he wants us to play, and you can see that we were playing it and passing it around quite well at times. In a way, it's like a mid-season friendly. That there's no kind of nobody. Is anybody really bothered about the FA Cup nowadays? I mean, I'm from the generation that if any generation was going to have some sort of romantic ideas about it, it would be me. But I just can't get excited about it. I mean, the fact that most of the people that sit near me are season ticket holders and they weren't even there today, it kind of shows you that basically, fans don't really care about it now either, which is sad. But that's why it felt like a bit of a free hit, a bit of a friendly, bit of a run out for certain players, and that's the way I'm kind of viewing it. Really, I'm driving away now, not absolutely gutted. I always want Millwall to win, but what's more important to me is that we beat Borough next week and QPR and then Preston. So I'm taking positives out of it, and I just hope that Leonard's injury isn't too bad, and hopefully Hutch isn't either. And if we can get back up to full strength, get a couple of players in, and then look forward to some proper games which actually mean something. So yeah, that's all from me. Cheers, Nick. Come on, you Lions.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you very much for that, mate. You raise a good question about the FA Cup. Does it really matter? I find myself going round in circles where there's a difference between a gap. Mind the gap, they say, between reality and fantasy. What you think the world should be like as against what it is like. So, I mean, in my romantic, brought up in the 60s and 70s, the FA Cup was a big deal in a very, very different world, I suppose. Sadly, whether we like it or not, and this ain't going to change, kids, the football scene is increasingly dominated by the interests of the biggest players. It reflects society, doesn't it? So the biggest clubs at the top of the tree and their desire for endless rounds of European level football, and everything being geared towards their interests. I even saw the strangest clip in the world of Thomas Frank of Brentford. Yes, Brentford, not Liverpool or Arsenal or any of these ex-Super League style clubs. Thomas Frank calling for the end of replays in FA Cup matches because Brentford, I suppose, can do without their squad being stretched. And if that's not the most ironic moment of your football career, then give me a better one, because Brentford, not so long ago, were languishing in third and fourth division football. So there we are. That's how money gets you, buys your soul, doesn't it, dear listeners? We all know that. Good performance. It was an odd sense though, where you don't really care too much for losing, and I suppose that's everything we've just touched upon there, Matt. It ain't right, but it's the way it is, and I think that's probably the way I want to leave any further consideration of the FA Cup. Let's go now to Barnsley, new caller, Barnsley. Let's have a listen to Barnsley.
Hi Nick, it's Barnsley here. Just thought I'd give you a quick rundown of what I thought of the game today. I thought we played well, to be honest. I think obviously the big thing for us versus them is that they're clinical in front of goal. We're not. I think when the balls go up top to the Watmore and Nisbet, it just slows down too much. We haven't got that pace. And obviously hearing the injury now to Amarca, who's going to cause us a lot of trouble, and obviously Leonard. So we lost a few players this week, and it showed today. He looked at the bench. Unfortunately, we couldn't really change it. But I thought everyone did well today. I really did, and we really battled towards the end. And we were lucky not to get a replay, but I don't think anyone really wanted a replay anyway. So, but no, I thought Danny Mack was brilliant today. I thought he really showed some great tackling out there and was strong. And I thought everyone else did well today. But Nisbet just needs to be stronger. Second goal come to him because ball played into him, wasn't strong enough. Lost the ball, clinical again, goal. And that's when you're playing against teams like this, they're going to hurt you. And that's exactly what they did today. And I felt that they probably could have stepped up an extra gear. But, we battled to the end and, passing out, I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? But we looked confident on the ball, and I think keeper played so well today. I'm not a massive fan, but today he turned me around. I thought he was brilliant. But, no, I'm not too unhappy. I walked out there quite happy today. But, we go to the next game, we need to patch up the squad, get some players in. It's, lone players, we need them to the end of the season. All right, mate, keep up the good work. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Big thank you, Barnsley. The sounds of London Bridge Station, it sounded like behind you there, mate, for all you train spotters out there. It was. I thought we played well. We played better than maybe I expected as I sat down in my seat yesterday morning. Injuries are going to cost us, that's for sure, and I suppose that's the downfall of a relatively small squad, where when you looked at the bench yesterday, because of these injuries that we're carrying now, you're looking really at kids as a first time out. I thought we might have seen more of the kids actually, but I suppose we were in contention through the game, so there was less apart from Romanese perhaps, there was less inclination by Joe to play some of those names. I would like to have seen Adam Malaki to see how he would have performed up against a quality side. Let's not forget that. This bit's an interesting character. I think you have to play him in the right way. I mentioned to Matt Nash at the start of the show the opening move, one of the opening moves, a break down the right by Watmore, his shot rather than cross it, and that was a very similar move to what we've seen a few goals recently. I think it was Bradshaw against Stoke, where there's like a ball across the face of the goal and it reached the man at the far post, and Nisbet was lurking at the far post for that very ball if it had been played, but that's not to excuse some of his other moments through the game. It wasn't his finest hour yesterday, that's for sure, and I was well pleased when Tom Bradshaw came. He just gives you more physicality and energy up front despite his relatively smaller stature, but yeah, there we are. Sarkic, yeah, we've mentioned Sarkic. I thought he had a decent game overall, albeit one or two moments where perhaps he might have expected to have done a little bit better. Okay, let's have a listen now to Joe from Chicago. So take it away, Joe.
Hello, Joe from Chicago. Simply happy that the Lions don't have a replay. It's a success as long as that didn't happen. Two positives from today. I mean, when you get cut apart by the Leicester counterattack, it's kind of what you would expect to happen, so I can't really dwell on that. Highly talented players playing Harding and Cooper off the park on the counter makes sense. Matthias Sarkic, fabulous. That game could have gotten ugly, made a couple great double saves. Really loved what I saw from Zian Fleming today. Goal and an assist, but there was a moment in the 75th minute where Leicester was breaking on the counter, and Zian's getting back, and you can see him pulling, literally physically pulling Billy Mitchell by the kit to get Mitchell back into the play defensively. They end up thwarting the counterattack, but I think Fleming's really starting to turn a corner this year at this point. I think if we can get the fans back on his side, this guy really could be crucial for us going down. Obviously, that's not a bold statement. Of course, the Lions need Zian Fleming, but I really need the Millwall fans to get behind him, because today, when this could have been 6-7-0, Zian did a lot to get us some goals, and to see him pulling Billy Mitchell back on defense, you'd expect it to be the other way around. So that was very cool to see. 3-2 loss again to Leicester. Whatever, it's the FA Cup. I don't really care. Cheers. Hope everyone's well.
Thank you, Joe. I missed that moment. Zian taking a hand in Billy's retreat from forward play to midfield. I was far away from the action when that would have happened. Much easier to pick up on screen. Interesting, though. I do agree with you, Joe, about the need for Zian to start asserting some leadership. And I don't really like that term, but I don't know what other one I can think of as I'm speaking. But to impose himself on the game and to start to, take a leading role in proceeding. If that's the start of what we hope we can see from Zian in that sense, then great stuff, because I do believe you're right that he's got the talent, he's got the football brain. He's got to find a way to make better use of his talents within the fact that he probably doesn't have the pace that a lot of other teams do around. We saw a really strong Leicester side, and they were quick. There was the third goal, which was a straightforward punt down the middle, I think, as I described it to Matt earlier on. Was all about pace. The Italian forward, Cazadei, I think his name was, strong and fast, and he had the beating of our boys. Zian isn't the quickest midfielder in the world, so he's got to find a way to, and the best players can do this, to use the talents he does have and not hopefully get caught out with that lack of pace. So good stuff from Joe in Chicago. Big thank you there, mate. Let's have a listen. We're going to continue on our worldwide journey. We're going to head westwards from Chicago. We're going to head out to Australia now and have a listen to Dave Baccarini.
Nick, Dave here from sunny Australia. God, what a feel-good defeat that was. Couple of observations. The first one, there's quite a quirky occurrence during the game, and I reckon there's 4 players who had their best game of the season in the same game. First, Danny Mack. Oh, what a return to form. Good tackling, lots of energy, and even showed some better foot skills. Billy Mitch, for once showing a bit more positivity and turning around and going forward. Definitely an improvement. Third one, Longman. The more and more, I think we probably should sign him up as a squad player. Did some really good attacks down the right and maintained our momentum. And finally, this guy, Fleming, I think it was his best game of the season. Ran around, looked a bit more enthusiastic, etc. So 4 best games of the season for those 4. The second observation, I thought we looked bloody fit today. Normally we're blowing out of our backsides after 70 minutes. Besides Watmore, the rest were going strong at the end. So something's happening there. The third thing is the level of injuries. If you see Edwards' interview after the game, we've got a whole catalogue now. It looks like Hutch is out for about 6 weeks. Maybe Lenny's out for months. And Brocknott and Cuffy and Murray Warris, they're all injured. So, well, these window signers are going to be critical just so we can get a good solid squad. You only had to look at the subs bench yesterday, some unknown faces there. And finally, the whole thing I can encapsulate yesterday's game as progress. Each time we play, we're looking better. Come on, you Lions.
Cheers, Dave. Yeah, I'd make you right about the progress part, mate. I do agree. We are looking inch by inch, game by game, minute by minute, we're looking better. I'm going to guess the fitness work. I mean, a lot of people are identifying our lack of fitness online. And I think probably when you look at where we're at now, we do look a stronger side. The injuries clearly are going to hit us hard. So big January ahead, as you rightly say. But I do agree that the fitness is improving and the performances, that the actual quality of the football is improving. And I can see in a way that maybe I couldn't in those immediate games after the appointment of Joe Edwards, what he's trying to achieve here. And it is a more modern, faster paced style, but it is one geared up, I believe, geared up for the peculiar arena that is the Den. We're not going to be a kind of crowd that will watch endless passing backwards and forwards for no purpose. It's got to have a point and a focus, and I do believe that's where Joe's trying to take us. Interesting array of best performers that you've picked out. Danny Mack, I thought also, Dave, played very, very well yesterday. Ryan Longman, he didn't stand out as much. He did okay. And Fleming and Billy Mitch all played better. I think that's where I'd go with it. But I do agree that Danny is looking an improved player. I'm hoping that, Joe Edwards has come to us as head coach with a strong reputation for improving players, and Danny Mack's probably prime candidate to be improved, because I think the boy's got the basis of a real talent. He's international for the Republic of Ireland, so clearly he's no slouch. But I think anyone can improve, and I think Danny probably is, if he's honest with himself, can really benefit from whatever the coaching staff bring to him. So yeah, great stuff there from Dave Baccarini in Australia. Next up, we're going to go with Lawrence Binney, and then we'll close out with Mr. Cheeky himself, Bobby T. Let's have a listen to Lawrence, then Bobby.
All right, Nick. Lawrence Binney here after the FA Cup game against Leicester City. A weakened Leicester City side, but also a side that was brimming with quality, and I think looking at that squad, it might just be the strongest squad that's ever sort of taken to the field at this level. Very impressive, the players they've got in reserve. It's weird that you can walk away from the Den and think, well, blimey, do you know what? We lost that, but that was a fucking good performance. That was full of attacking intent and endeavour, and no small amount of self-belief. I feel like with every passing game we're developing, but we're learning a little bit more about what a Joe Edwards side looks like. And today, I think, is as close as we've looked to the Edwards vision as we have in previous games. I'd say that was probably our best attacking performance under Edwards. Not our best overall performance, which I think the Norwich game will take some beating. But especially that first half, the number of times we sort of retrieved the ball from defence, had kind of midfielders turning into space, playing 1-2s. We really put the fear of God into that Leicester defence, and do I think what what teams often do to Cooper and to Hutch, which is kind of put them on the back foot, have them reeling. Do you know what I mean? You had Connor Cody, who's a proper sort of old school, no nonsense centre back, played for England fairly recently, but he really doesn't like players running at him, and the likes of Watmore and Nisbet kind of giving him a torrid time. I was very impressed with Zian Fleming today, in what looked like a deeper role than usual, almost sort of playing as a kind of what you might call like a number 8. Often got the ball deep, looking to play those sort of through the eye of the needle passes to runners. And what a bloody finish that was for the second goal. You'll see more spectacular goals this season, but in terms of sheer technique, I think that might just be the best goal that we've seen at the Den for quite some time. Incredibly pleased with the performance. Although saying that, if we're going to hold these players to a higher standard now that we turned the corner, and I really do believe we have turned that corner, I will just sort of say maybe players like Mitchell, Watmore can be coached, but I think as good as they were today, there needs to be we just need to be a little bit sharper, I think, if we're going to kind of compete at the top end of the table again. A couple of times we were in great positions, but we sort of dillied and dallied, or didn't quite find that final pass or that final shot when it was very much on for us, and that was the difference in the end between the two teams. Could also say maybe Leonard and Harding didn't have their best games for us. I think Leonard got caught under the ball for the cross for the first goal, and Harding made a very silly mistake for their third from a simple ball over the top. I think I've got that right. I had a couple of beers, so I might have completely got that wrong. And in the end, we sort of just, I think the third goal sort of sucked the life out of us a little bit, and we were kind of getting done on the counter quite a bit. But we were pouring forward, and we had that attacking intent. Just a great time to be a Mill fan at the moment. You know what I mean? I feel like this is all I want to see from a Mill side. I don't care if we lose half our games, but we're being entertained. The players are buying into the philosophy. There's a real sort of urgency to our play, and no small amount of quality. So yeah, I would take finishing 12th, 13th with this quality of football over finishing 7th, 8th under Rowett any day of the week. Very encouraged. Shame about all the injuries, but we've got a decent chance now to kind of really break into that top half with a quite kind run of games coming up. Cheers, Nick. Come on, you Lions.
Good afternoon, Nick Hart, Bobby T here, signing on from Harrods. Well, a lot of points to say, but I'm glad we're out of the FA Cup, to be honest with you. Because we've had loads of cup runs, Nick Hart. I mean, you viewers, you tell me what you think, mate. 2-0 down, 3-1, Fleming. Fleming is not even interested, mate. I don't know why he starts. What more? Great goal. Danny Mac, man of the match. Anyway, I'm glad we're out. Some people want a cup run. We've got to stay in this league. That's the most important thing. Our survival on this championship. So Leicester didn't go to the game. As I said to you, I'm working. But yeah, positives. Danny Mac. Leonard looks out for the season now. Team selection, yeah. Joey Edwards, we trust. I'm glad we're out of the FA Cup. As I keep saying to you, I don't want a cup run. But what do you think, guys? I'm actually happy. Contract on the league now. Lost 3-2. Didn't go. QPR, I'm waiting to get tickets. Hopefully I will get some tickets. Great show, Nick Hart. And Millwall is the best. Bye for now.
Cheers, Bob. Well, I'm never glad we're out of the FA Cup. A cup run is always something worth having, in my romantic opinion. One thing I will say is football, as the cliche has it, is a game of opinions. So on the one hand, Lawrence is praising, and others have praised Zian Fleming's performance. It was a brilliant goal. I make you right, Lawrence, about the technique required to side foot that volley in straight from a corner. I can't really go with your take that Fleming was poor, Bobby. I think that maybe it wasn't being shown on TV, mate, so maybe you didn't see it there. So, but I thought we did okay. As far as attacking performances, yeah, I mean, I make what you say there, Lawrence, right about enjoying the game, and I think that was my overriding sense as I walked away from the ground yesterday. You know, I've actually enjoyed going to football, and it's been a long while, really, despite losing, oddly, but it's been a long while since we could all collectively have said that. So a big thank you to Bobby and to Lawrence there. That's the show, dear listeners. Big thank you to everyone that's contributed today, and a big thank you to you too for listening. We'll be back again after the Middlesbrough game, which is next Saturday. And we're going to close out now with the answers. We've got the Pundit Games question answers here, haven't we? So let's finish off. punditgames.co.uk, Pundit #1 football trivia board game. I asked you earlier on. This was a Croatian striker who won the European Championship in '96 with Germany. Top scorer was Stuttgart. I wouldn't have known this one in a long while. Freddie Bobic. Now I hear the name, I would have heard of him, but I wouldn't have done otherwise. And Gary Rowett's backroom staff, a hard-nosed fullback with Birmingham, West Brom, and was until recently part of the Gary Rowett backroom staff at the Den. It's not ours, but the other, Paul Robinson. Of course, it was Paul Robinson. There we are. So check out punditgames.co.uk. Huge thank you to everyone for contributing to the show. Whether you agree or disagree, or whatever your views and opinions are, do give me a shout. Hit me up on the Twitter, and always look forward to hearing from you. So until the next edition of Achtung Millwall, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.